everyone, welcome to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. In this video, our topic is human health and disease. This video is taken from Immunology series of CBSE Class 12. In Class 12, this video is from Chapter 8, Part 1. This series is devoted for the study of health, disease and their control. Now, the first topic is health. So the question is, what is health? Early Greeks like Hippocrates as well as Indian Ayurveda system of medicine for a long time considered health as a state of body and mind where there was a balance of certain humours. In the latter part of the 20th century, biology stated that mind influences through neural and endocrine system our immune system, and the latter maintains our health. The term health does not simply mean absence of disease or physical fitness. It has a wide scope. The World Health Organization gave the following definition of health in 1948. Health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being and not merely an absence of disease or infirmity. The WHO definition of health recognizes three dimensions of health, in which the first one, that is the physical health. Physical health implies perfect functioning of all body parts, that is various organs and organ systems. It can be determined by various tests. Second is mental health, and it implies harmony between the individual and its environment. A mentally sound individual is free from tensions and anxiety, etc., and therefore performs his functions in a better way in his environment. Unlike physical health, it is difficult to assess the mental health. Third is social health, which implies that every person living in a society possesses basic requirements of life. That is, good earning, good food and clear drinking water, a clean place of living, a happy family, cooperative interactions with neighbors and friends, and is leading a happy, cheerful life. And recently, a fourth dimension, that is spiritual health, has also been suggested. Discoveries in biology have now stated that mind influences body's immune system through coordinating system, that is neural and endocrine system. In other words, our immune system maintains our health and mind, and mental state can affect it. Now, how can health will be affected? So, our health can be affected by, first, that is genetic disorders, that is the deficiencies, defects which a child inherits from parents since birth. Second is through infections. And third, that is our lifestyle, which includes food and water we take, habits that we have or lack, rest and exercise we give to our bodies, etc. Now the question is, how to achieve good health? To achieve good health, it is necessary that we have first hygienic balanced diet. Second is clean drinking water. Third is personal and community hygiene. Fourth, that is regular physical exercise. Fifth point, that is the knowledge about disease and their effects on the body. Sixth, that is immunization against infectious disease and proper disposal of wastes. And the last is control of vectors. So, to achieve a good health, these points are important. First is drink water, it's what you are made of. Second, that is do your exercise. Third, that is breathe fresh air. Fourth, that is go outside when the sun is out. Fifth, learn to relax. Sixth, that is eat your fruits. Seventh, that is eat your vegetables. Eight, eat whole grains. Nine, white if you choose meat. and the 10th, that is get to bed on time. So these are the points which are responsible to achieve good health. Now, after this, the question is, what is disease? Any physical or functional change from the normal state that causes discomfort or disability or impairs the health of a living organism may be called a disease. Alternatively, malfunctioning of the body or a part of it with specific symptoms is termed disease. So, the Oxford English Dictionary defines disease as a condition of the body or some part of organs of the body in which its function are disturbed or deranged. When some disease occur, either the normal functioning or the appearance of one or more system of the body changes for the worse. Such changes give rise to symptoms and sign of disease. Symptoms are the manifestations or evidences of the presence of disease. They indicate that there is some abnormality in the body. Symptoms, however, do not give any exact cause of the disease. On the basis of symptoms, the physicians first look for the sign of a particular disease, and second, that is, they get laboratory tests done on the patient to further confirm the disease. Signs provide informations about the presence of particular disease, and these are distinct for different diseases. So this is what is disease. Now, after this, you can see here disease agents which are responsible for causing any disease. So what are disease agents? The disease agent is a factor or substance or force which cause a disease by its excess or deficiency or absence. So in case of disease agents, there are different 6 main types of disease agents, in which the first one is biological agents. So what are biological agents? These includes virus, rickets, bacteria, fungi, protozoans, helminths and arthropods. The biological agents are called pathogens. Pathogens means pathos, which means disease, and the genes means producing. So the pathogens are disease producing organisms like bacteria, fungi, virus, helminth, arthropods, etc. Now, second is nutrient agents. These comprise food components such as carbohydrate, fats, proteins, minerals, vitamins and water. And the third is chemical agents. These are of 2 main types. First one is endogenous chemical agents, which are formed in the body itself and include hormones, enzymes, urea and uric acid. And the second is exogenous chemical agents, which enter the body from outside by inhalation, ingestion or inoculation. Pollutants and allergens are the examples of the exogenous chemical agents. So the chemical agents are of 2 types, endogenous and exogenous. Fourth agent is physical agents, and these include heat, cold, humidity, pressure, radiation, electricity and sound. Fifth is mechanical agents. These comprise chronic friction or other mechanical forces which result in injury, sprain, dislocation, fracture, etc. And the last one is genetic disorders. Some diseases are caused by genetic disorders and lack or underdeveloped of organs. So, the agents for certain diseases such as peptic ulcer, coronary heart disease and hypertension are not fully known, which are known as little known agents. So, there are mainly 6 main types of disease agents, which are biological agents, nutrient agents, chemical agents, physical agents, mechanical agents and genetic disorders or agents. After this, now classification or types of diseases. So, if we talk about the classification, the disease may be broadly classified into two main types, in which the first one is congenital disease. So, what are congenital disease? These are anatomical or physiological abnormalities present since birth. They may be caused by a single gene mutation or chromosomal aberrations or environmental factors. The gene and chromosome include here are induced congenital defects are transmitted to the children, whereas the environmentally caused abnormalities are not. So, congenital diseases are present since birth. And the second is acquired disease. These diseases develop after birth, and there are further two types, in which the first one is communicable disease or infectious disease. These diseases are caused by pathogens, namely viruses, rickettsial, bacteria, fungi, protozoans, worms, etc., and they spread to other persons. And the second is non-communicable disease or non-infectious disease. These diseases remain confined to the person who develops them and do not spread to others. The non-communicable diseases are of five types, in which the first one is organic disease or degenerative disease. These diseases are due to malfunctioning of some of the important organs like heart disease, epilepsy, etc. Heart disease results from the abnormal working of some part of this vital organ. Epilepsy may result from abnormal pressure on regions of the brain. Second is deficiency disease. These diseases are produced by deficiency of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, and inadequate diet, that is night blindness, beriberi, scurvy, kwashiorkor, marasmus are examples of inadequate diet, are just a few from a long list. Next is disease due to hypo or hypersecretion of hormones. So, this type of disease occur due to hyposecretion of hormones in the examples like diabetes, iodine deficiency, goiter, cretinism, and myxedema. Addison's disease or hypersecretions of hormones, and the examples are exophthalmic goiter, that is Graves' disease. After this, the next non-communicable disease is allergies, and these diseases are caused when the body, which has become hypersensitive to certain foreign substances, comes in contact with that substance. Hay fever is an example of allergic disease. And the last non-communicable disease is cancer. This is caused by an uncontrolled growth of certain tissues in the body. So, the question is, what is infection? Infection means the entry and development or multiplication of viruses and organisms in the body of larger organisms. It implies body's response to defend itself in some way against the invaders. A disease resulting from an infection is called infectious disease. What is contamination? Contamination refers to the presence of disease-causing agents in non-living material such as water, milk, and food, which is used by the host without any response to the pathogens. And what is infestation? Infestations means lodgement, development, and reproduction of parasites, generally arthropods, on the surface of the body or in the clothing. Examples are louse infestations, cockroach infestations, etc. So these are what about the classification or types of disease, what is infection, what is contamination, and what is infestations. Now, disease caused by pathogens, which means communicable disease. So, if you talk about the communicable disease, Here, the disease which are caused by pathogens like viruses and living organisms and readily spread from the infected to the healthy persons are called communicable or infectious disease. So here you can see the Koch postulates for the pathogenic disease. So what are the Koch postulates? A German bacteriologist and Nobel laureate Robert Koch listed the following four conditions to establish that a specific pathogen cause a particular disease. So the first postulate is the suspected pathogens should be invariably present in the animals suffering from the disease and should not be found in healthy individuals. Second point is the pathogens isolated from the diseased animal should be grown in a pure culture. Then, when this culture is inoculated into a healthy host, the latter should develop the disease and show its characteristic symptoms. And the last point is the pathogens should be recoverable from the experimental host and it should be the same as the original one. So, the Koch postulates proposed for animal disease hold good for human disease also. However, his conditions do not apply to viruses because they cannot be cultured on artificial media. So, these are all about the Koch postulates for the pathogenic disease, which means communicable disease or infectious disease. Now, control of communicable disease. So, how can we control the communicable disease? The communicable disease, besides impairing health, have been taking a heavy toll of human life in the past. Therefore, their control has always been the major problem of the public health. Now, effective means of fighting this disease have been found. This has not only reduced the toll taken by microbes but has also increased man's life expectancy. Efforts to control the communicable disease have involved three major steps, in which the first step is to know the nature of disease, that is, the causative agent and its life history. Second is to find out mode of transmission of the disease, that is, how the causative agents enter the human body. And the last is to devise protective measures against the attack of the causative agents enter the human body. So these are how we can control the communicable disease. Now, what are the reservoir of infection for pathogens? Every pathogen has some reservoir where it normally lives when it is outside the host susceptible to the disease. The reservoir varies from different pathogens. It may be soil, water, animals, or other persons called carriers. The animals which act as a reservoir do not contract the disease and are known as reservoir host. So these are all about the reservoir of infections for the pathogen. Now, how the disease transmitted? So you can see here the transmission of diseases. The diseases are transmitted from the reservoirs of infection to the healthy person in the following ways, in which the first one is direct transmission. The pathogens of some disease reach the human body directly without intermediate agents, and this can occur as under first one, that is contact with infected person. It is a direct transmission method. Certain diseases produce sores or lesions on the skin. Contact with materials discharged from this source or lesions bring about infection. Ringworms, athlete foods, barber's itch, chickenpox, smallpox, syphilis and gonorrhea are spread by direct contact. Kissing also spread infections. The diseases that are transmitted by direct contact are called contagious. disease. Now, the second direct transmission is droplet infection. Some diseases are caught by merely being in a confined place like room, theater, bus with an infected person. The latter throws out tiny droplets of mucus by coughing, sneezing, spitting, or even talking. These droplets may contain pathogens dislodged from nasal membranes, throat, and lungs. Many of these droplets are inhaled. Diphtheria, scarlet fever, influenza, common cold, measles, mumps, tuberculosis, pneumonia, and whooping cough are spread by droplets. Now, the third direct transmission is contact with soil. The bacteria responsible for tetanus and blood poisoning enter the human body from the soil through injuries. Hence, skin injuries should not be neglected. Next is animal bites. So, viruses of rabies or hydrophobia is introduced through the wound caused by the bites of rabid animals, most commonly dogs. And the last, through placenta. In the latter part of the pregnancy, due to age or injury, the placenta becomes permeable to certain pathogens such as viruses of German measles and bacteria of syphilis. The pathogens then pass from the maternal blood into the fetal blood. So, this is the mode of direct transmission, in which the first one is through contact with the infected person, second is droplet infection, third is contact with soil, fourth is animal bite, and the last is through placenta. After this, what are the indirect transmission? So, in case of indirect transmission, the pathogens of certain disease reach the human body through some intermediate agents or vectors, in which the first one is arthropod vectors. Insects transmit disease in two different ways, in which the first one, that is the housefly, carries the causative organism of cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and tuberculosis on the legs and mouth parts from the feces and sputum to food and drinks. The latter, if taken, cause infection. It also carries the microbes responsible for ophthalmia and conjunctivitis from eye to eye. Ants, cockroaches, and house crickets also carry disease germs to articles of food. Certain blood-sucking insects carry disease-causing organisms in their body and transmit them with bites. Human body louse spreads typhus, rat flea transmits bubonic plague, sese fly spreads African sleeping sickness, sand fly transmits kala jar and oriental sore, Aedes mosquito spreads yellow fever, Culex mosquito transmits filariasis, Anopheles mosquito spreads malaria, and ticks spread Rocky Mountain spotted fever. So these are all about the arthropod vectors. Next is Vackel-Born method. So, the causative organism of dysentery, cholera, and typhoid enter the human digestive tract with food, water, and ice. Most of the helminths which produce disease in man also get into the body in a similar way. Some diseases are transmitted through blood, that is, examples are AIDS. Next is airborne method. The pathogens may reach the human with air and dust. So, the epidemic typhus spreads by inhalation of dried feces of infected lice. In this picture, you can see the potential risk of getting air transmitted disease as we move closer to the infected person. In closed areas, the droplet nuclei reticulate and pose a risk to everybody. Thus, overcrowded and poorly ventilated housing is a major factor in the spread of airborne disease. Next is vomit-borne method. Many diseases are transmitted through the use of contaminated articles such as handkerchief, towel, clothes, utensils, toys, door handles, taps, soap, syringe, and surgical instruments. Next is unclean hands. The unclean hands may carry disease germs to foot or mouth. Therefore, hands should be washed with soap and water before taking meals. And the last is human carriers. Certain diseases, notably diphtheria and typhoid, are spread by human carriers. The latter are themselves healthy and immune but have pathogenic organisms in their body. These pathogens are transmitted in the ways already mentioned here. After this, now the common method of transmission of disease. So, what are the common method? That means transmission of disease from an infected person to the healthy person. So the methods like the direct contact by air, by indirect contact, by food, by mosquito or insect bite like rabid animals, etc. So these are the methods by which a person can be diseased by infected person. So these are the communicable disease. Now here, the portals of entry and exit of any bacteria, virus, or any type of pathogens in the body. So, if we talk about the portals of entry, characteristic route a microbe follow to enter the tissues of the body by skin, that is nicks, abrasion, punctures, incisions, etc. Next is gastrointestinal tract, that is food, drink, and other ingested materials. Next is mucous membrane, then urogenital tract, which is sexual disease transmission, and the last is placental diseases. So these are the portals of entry. After this, what are the portals of exit? The portal of exit is the path by which an infective agent leaves its reservoir. Usually, this portal is the site where the microorganisms grow. Common portals of exit associated with human reservoir include the respiratory, genitourinary, and gastrointestinal tracts, the skin and the mucous membrane, and the placenta. The placenta is responsible for transmission from mother to fetus only. So these are the portals of entry and exit of any parasites in the host body. Now, common human disease which are transmitted by insects. So if we talk about the common human disease, here you can see the insect vectors and the disease transmitted. First insect vector, that is the mosquito, which are of three types. First one is Anopheles, which caused malaria. Second is Culex, which caused filariasis. And the third type of mosquitoes is Aedes, which cause yellow fever, dengue, and filariasis. Second insect vector is flies, in which housefly responsible for causing typhoid, diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, tuberculosis, trachoma, conjunctivitis, amoebiasis, and poliomyelitis, etc. Sandfly is responsible for causing kala ajar and oriental sore, and the sassafly is responsible for causing sleeping sickness. Third insect vector is louse, which is responsible for causing trench fever, relapsing fever, and epidemic typhus. And the last is rat flea, which is responsible for causing bubonic plague. So these are the common human diseases which are transmitted by insects. Now, after this, the classification of communicable disease. So, the communicable disease are classified into 7 types according to the nature of their causative agents, in which here you can see the first type of disease is viral disease, which are caused by viruses, and the examples are influenza, smallpox, measles, mumps, rabies, polio, etc. Second type of disease is rickettsial disease, which is caused by Rickettsius, and the examples are typhus, trench fever, Q1 fever, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, etc. Third type of disease is bacterial disease, and caused by bacteria, that is, in the examples are cholera, typhoid, tuberculosis, pneumonia, plague, leprosy, etc. Fourth type of disease is spirochetal disease, which is caused by spirochetes, and the examples are syphilis. Next is protozoan disease, which is caused by protozoans, and the examples are amoebiasis, malaria, sleeping sickness, oriental sore, etc. Next is helminthic disease, which is caused by helminths, and the examples are ascariasis, teniasis, filariasis, and cyclostomiasis, etc. And the seventh last communicable disease classification type is fungal disease, and the causative agents are fungi, and the examples are ringworm, athlete foods, etc. So we will discuss each and every type of disease in detail in the next slide. So here the first type of communicable disease is viral disease. Here you can see the table, that is viral disease and the causative viruses. So here you can see one by one, that is influenza, which is caused by orthomyxovirus, chickenpox, which is caused by varicella zoster, smallpox, which is caused by variola virus, measles caused by rubiola virus, rabies caused by Lissa virus, mumps caused by paramyxovirus, poliomyelitis caused by poliovirus, AIDS caused by human immunodeficiency virus, infectious hepatitis caused by infectious hepatitis virus, serum hepatitis caused by serum hepatitis virus, trachoma caused by chlamydia trachomatis virus, and the dengue fever caused by dengue virus. So these are the some viral diseases and their causative viruses. After this, the second type is here Rickettsial disease, third is spirochetal disease, and the fourth is fungal disease. So if we talk about the Rickettsial disease, here you can see that this is like the typhus groups. Here you can see that epidemic typhus, murine typhus, and scrub typhus, which is caused by here, that means Rickettsia, Proveski, Rickettsial typhi, and here Susu gamusi, and the insect vectors are louse, flea, and mite, and the mammalian reservoirs are humans, rodents, respectively. Next is spotted fever group. Here you can see, and caused by here Rickettsia gonorrhea, and insect vectors are tick and mites, and mammalian reservoirs are rodents, dogs, and mice. And the other are Q fever, which is caused by Brunetti, and the here insect vectors are no insect vectors, and the mammalian reservoirs are cattle, sheep, and goat. And the last is trench fever, which is caused by Rockelemia cunintana, and the insect vectors are louse, and the mammalian reservoirs are humans. So these are the type of rickettsial disease. Now next is spirochetal disease. Here you can see the genus like the Treponema and the species like the Treponema pallidum, which is responsible for causing syphilis. Treponema pallidum, and the subspecies are Endemicum, and the cause is basal. Pallidum, and subspecies like Pertinue cause yaws, and the Treponema caratium cause pinta. Genus here second is Borrelia, and the species are Burgdorferi, and causes disease like the Lyme disease, borreliosis. Next is Recurrentis, and the causes disease is epidemic relapsing fever, and many species of Borrelia also cause endemic relapsing fever. Next genus is Leptospira, and the species is Interrogans, and disease caused by this genus is leptospirosis, which is a Wells disease. So this is spirochetal associated disease. Next is fungal disease. Here you can see list of some animal disease caused by fungi like penicilliosis, and the here species of penicillium. Next is aspergillosis, species of aspergillus, athlete food. Here the Tinea rubrum, ringworm, which is caused by trichophyton and microsporum, and the mucormycosis caused by and Rhizopus. So there are some name of some diseases here you can see and the pathogen which cause this disease. So these are all about the rickettsial disease, bacterial disease and fungal disease. After this, the fifth type is here bacterial disease. Here you can see some disease which is caused by bacteria and their causative bacteria. Like cholera caused by Vibrio coma, pneumonia caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae, typhoid which is caused by Salmonella typhi, tetanus which is caused by Clostridium tetani, diphtheria which is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae, whooping cough which is caused by Bordetella pertussis, tuberculosis which is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, plague which is caused by Yersinia pestis, leprosy which is caused by Mycobacterium leprae, syphilis which is caused by Treponema pallidum, gonorrhea which is caused by Neisseria gonorrhoeae, diarrheal disease which is caused by E. coli, Shigella dysentery, Salmonella, etc. And the last is anthrax which is caused by Bacillus anthracis. So these are some diseases which are caused by the bacteria. After this, the last here, the second last, which is protozoans disease, and here you can see their causative agents and the diseases like the amoebiasis which is caused by Entamoeba histolytica, primary amoebic meningoencephalitis which is caused by Naegleria fowleri. Next is giardiasis which is caused by Giardia lamblia. Next is trichomoniasis which is caused by Trichomonas vaginalis. Next is African sleeping sickness which is caused by Trypanosoma brucei. Next is leishmaniasis that is Kala Ajar which is caused by Leishmania donovani. Next is toxoplasmosis and caused by Toxoplasma gondii. Next is malaria which is caused by Plasmodium species, and then babesiosis which is caused by Babesia microti. And last is pneumocytosis that is PCP and caused by Pneumocystis carinii. So these are some protozoan diseases and their causative agents. After that, now here the last type, that is the Helminth disease. So Helminth disease and their causative helminths. So first Helminth disease is Teniasis which is caused by Taenia solium, then Ascaris which is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides, then Filariasis which is caused by Wuchereria bancrofti, and the last is Encyclostomiasis which is caused by Encyclostoma duodenale. So according to the classification, there are 7 communicable diseases types: viral disease, rickettsial disease, bacterial disease, spirochetal disease, protozoan disease, Helminth disease and fungal disease. After this, the question is how pathogen cause disease. Pathogen produce disease in 2 ways, in which the first one is tissue damage. The bacteria responsible for tuberculosis damage cells and cause lesions in the lungs. Blood oozes from the lesions into the air sacs, leading to hemorrhages. The bacteria that cause meningitis attack the protective membrane covering the brain. The virus of rabies destroys brain tissues. The poliovirus damages motor nerve cells in the spinal cord. So this is the way of tissue damage. Now, next is toxin secretions. So, many microbes produce powerful poisons called toxins which causes disease. And toxins are of the 2 main types. First one is here exotoxins and second is endotoxins. Exotoxins are here responsible for the released as soon as produced, and the endotoxins are retained in the bacterial cells and released when bacteria dies and disintegrate. So, the exotoxins, the disease brought about by exotoxins include tetanus, scarlet fever, diphtheria and botulism, that means food poisoning. And the endotoxins disease caused by endotoxins are typhoid fever, cholera, bubonic plague and dysentery. So, what are the main differences between the exotoxins and endotoxins? Exotoxins are the proteins produced inside pathogenic bacteria, mostly commonly gram-positive bacteria, as part of their growth and metabolism. The exotoxins are then secreted or released into the surrounding medium following lysis. And the endotoxins are the lipid portions of the lipopolysaccharides that are part of the outer membrane of the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria. The endotoxins are liberated when the bacteria die and the cell wall breaks apart. So this is the main difference between the exotoxins and endotoxins. After this, now the course of a disease. So, when pathogens infect a person, the normal course of the disease runs as follow here. That is, the first microbes multiply till they produce enough toxins to make the symptoms of the disease begin to appear. The interval between infection and the first appearance of the disease is called incubation period. This may vary from 24 hours from the common cold to several months for rabies. Multiplication goes on, more toxin is released and the disease becomes more severe. Body defense becomes active and the disease may follow one of the two courses. The microbes may overcome the body defense and the victims die. The body defense may overpower the invaders and the patient gradually recovers from the disease. So these are the two main ways that follows the course. First one, that is the body defense and the victim dies, and the second is body defense may overpower the invaders and the patient gradually recovers from the disease. Sometimes the resistance of the body and the virulence of the infecting microbes are balanced. The microbes then stay alive but fail to produce the disease. Such a person is known as carrier. He may transmit the disease to others who are less resistant but himself remains disease free. And the last topic here is factors influencing infection. Factors which influence a person's chance of developing a disease when the microbes enter the body are first one, that is the number of invading organisms. A person whose body is invaded by a large number of microbes is naturally more likely to suffer from the disease than the one invaded by only a few microbes. The number of organisms needed to cause a disease is called infective dose. It varies with the resistance of the host and virulence of the strain of the microbes. Next is virulence of organism. Virulence refers to the relative ability of the pathogen to produce symptoms of the disease. It depends on the ability of the pathogens to invade the host and grow in its tissue, that is invasiveness, and to produce toxins that destroy the host cell, that is toxigenicity. Strong, healthy germs are more likely to cause the disease than the weak germs of the same species. For example, the virus strains of the common influenza spread slowly and cause a mild disease, whereas the virus strain of Asian flu is spread radially and produce a serious disease in epidemic form. Next is resistance of the body to disease. All of us know that some persons catch infections more easily than others. It depends on the ability of the pathogen. This is due to the former's low resistance to disease. Resistance to disease is lowered by improper nourishment, insufficient sleep, lack of exercise, fatigue due to overwork, exposure to extreme of weather and sudden change in temperature and illness. And the last is immunity. A person who has recently suffered from a disease or has been vaccinated or inoculated against it is immune to it. Some people inherit a high degree of natural immunity to certain diseases. Age is also a factor in immunity. Adults often do not catch children's disease. Children of 70 to 25 years are more susceptible to tuberculosis and old persons to pneumonia. So this is the end of video in which we know about the healthy persons, what is health, what is disease agents, classification and types of disease, disease caused by pathogens, transmission of disease, classification of communicable disease, how pathogen cause disease, course of a disease, and the factors influencing disease. Now, the next video here will be on the common disease in humans. So in the next video we will see some diseases in detail. So if you understand this video, please like and share it and subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. If you have any questions, any queries or any suggestions, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for the watching.